So yeah, it took me 170 next kills to get the Ancient Defender, which is absolutely ridiculous since it's 1 in 50 drop rate. Fortunately for me, I was a little bit more lucky on the Calphite Defenders, managed to pick up all 3 in a relatively decent amount of kills, probably close to 100 or 150 kills. Didn't actually track how many it took. I did quite a few in a mass. I managed to pick myself up an offhand Dragon Mace drop, as well as the first perfect chitin, and then I got a offhand Dragon Rapier solo, and then a further 2 perfect chitins to make the 3 different defenders. So we'll just jump into quickly what they look like now, and then I'll go into some stats of their DPS output and whether in my opinion I think they're worth getting or not. So I'll just quickly go over the 3 defenders so you can see them in my inventory here. So we've got the Calphite Defender, which is the melee one, the Calphite Rebounder, which is the magic one, and the Calphite Repriser, which is the range one. Now if we take a look, we'll take a look at them individually. So this is the Calphite Defender. Looks like basically a mini Drygor longsword, so we just put on that melee gear. Looks pretty cool. It fits in nicely because the colour scheme is obviously the same as the Drygors, which is nice. But then if we go into the mage gear, this is probably my second favourite. It does kind of fit in with the look of the Tectonic. It's got a nice little blue glow around it, so it fits in the glow of the wand. So again, the mage one, the Calphite Rebounder, looks pretty nice. And then the final one is the ranged one, so the Calphite Repriser. And personally, this is my least favourite of the 3. It doesn't look particularly great in my opinion. It doesn't really go with the Serenic or the offhand Ascension, so it's kind of a lose-lose there as far as looks go. And it kind of looks a bit weedier than the Ascension. The Ascension's got a bit more beef to it. But yeah, it doesn't look great, but we'll go into whether it's actually worth using now. Okay, so here we are at the Lumbridge dummies, and we're going to test out the DPS difference in the 3 different defenders. So I've got this challenge gem, and what it does is it'll count how much damage I do, and I've got an overload here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 3 minutes with like dual Drygors, and then 3 minutes using the Calphite Defender as the offhand. This tells me how much damage I've done. I'll track each damage and then figure out the percentage difference for rapiers over the Calphite Defender. Now what I'm going to do is to keep it the same. I've turned Revolution on, and I'm just going to leave Revolution because then the ability rotation should be the same for the 3 minutes of each. So we're going to plop this gen down now, and then we will give it a go. Okay, so while I play a clip in the background of me testing the defenders, I'm going to go over some of the stats that I found out. So I tested dual wield versus defender and also defender versus shield, and found out the damage difference between each of them. So starting with the melee defender, it had 6.4% less damage than an offhand, but it had 42% more damage than a shield, which is absolutely crazy. For the mage defender, it had 15.8% less damage than the offhand and 18.5% more damage than the shield. And for the range one, it had 17.3% less damage and 29.41% more damage than the shield. So as you can see, the mage and the range defenders are nowhere near as good as the melee one. So now that I've gone over the stats, I'm going to go over whether I think they're worth it, and then we'll go whether they're worth their price tag, and also situations where they might be useful. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the melee defender and saying that it is absolutely worth getting. It's a 20 mil price tag to get it, or even less than that for the price of an offhand Drygor. And that loss in damage is more than made up by the fact that you get the 3% accuracy boost, you get the slight damage reduction, and you also get the use of shield abilities. So if you're ever tanking with melee, you want to take a melee defender with you. For example, it's great for Araxor because you can stack revenge hits really quick for path 1. The minions obviously stack your hits really quickly, which means you can do even more damage than an offhand when revenge is up. And also gives you the ability to use shield abilities for maybe if you're struggling on P4, or when the minions spawn again, you can use like Reflect, half that damage. Absolutely awesome. Now, the Mage Defender and the Range Defender have a much higher price tag. So you've got the price of the Seismic Singularity, which is about 150 million at the moment, and then an Offhand Ascension, which is 80 odd million, 85 million maybe. So much more expensive to get these defenders, and you get less damage than the melee one, and a less of an increase from a shield. So whether it's worth it or not is kind of situation and dependent on how much money you have. So I'm going to say for the mage one has more usability in my view than the range one, but it also has a higher price tag. So you get more damage output than a shield, 18.5% more damage. So it's going to be useful. The number one place I can think of is Virago if you're base tanking or bomb tanking. Having that extra damage output, definitely worth it for when you're using your shield, because you do use shield as base and as bomb tank. Now, the other place that I found it useful was to be at Living Wyverns. Now this is quite a niche place for it to be good at. So it's one of the new Elite Slayer mobs, but it did mean that I could just camp Soul Split, and I was killing them so quickly because I could use shield abilities along with dual wield abilities, and that extra damage just meant I was absolutely wrecking them. So it was really good for Wyverns. But other than those two places, I can't really think of many others where it would actually be useful. Maybe tanking next if you're maging it on Zaros, but again, the usability is just it's very niche and probably isn't worth the 150 mil price tag unless you've just got money lying around. And then as far as the range defender go, this is the worst one in my opinion. I tested it at Araxor. The damage that you lose over an offhand just isn't worth the use of shield abilities. 70.3% is a lot, especially on P4. My P4s just felt so slow using the offhand ascension, or sorry, the offhand Calfight or Repriser. So I would probably say that the range one is the last one that you would want to get, and there are not many situations where it is useful. Final thing I want to say is just thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope this guide or review has been informative and helpful for anyone that has been wondering whether it's worth getting these defenders or not. If anyone has any ideas where they might be useful in places that I missed, just leave me a message in the comments. I'll read all the comments. So yeah, if you did enjoy, don't forget to smash that like button if it helped you figure out whether you want to grind for these defenders or not. And yeah, thank you again, and I'll see you in the next one.